What up, Facebook Live family and friends? Elliot Andre, the head therapist at Connected Roots, is back with another great interview. Today we have Bonnie Rabin. She's a PhD and college advisor. Bonnie, if you could, let us know who you are, what you do, and how you separate yourself from the pack of college advisors. That'd be a great way to start.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Happy MLK Day. Hope everyone's thinking about those principles and ideals as you head out for the day, meaning be as kind as you can to everybody, whether you know them or not. I am a college advisor. I didn't always engage in the practice. I spent 30 years previously as a university professor. Born in New York City, spent most of my life in the East Coast. I've taught a variety of universities. You could look me up on LinkedIn. And one of the things that I have appreciated along the way is that every teen, every young adult has a blank page. And I think it's important for all the people that support our teens, whether that be parents, guidance counselors, private guidance counselors like myself, to help students discover and leverage their passion. And so what I do is work with students as early as the 8th, 9th grade, all the way through their undergraduate experience to tap into their talents, their strengths, and uncover what they're capable of doing and guide them through the process of college applications their senior year or as an undergraduate during the senior year going into grad school or launching careers.
Nice. I think one thing you just said that I really appreciate is that you're following these people through their path all the way and giving them that total opportunity to really take advantage of the services you offer. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's really one of the exciting things. When some people don't find me until their senior year, but more than half of my practice find me somewhere in 9th grade. And what's really wonderful is to watch each young adult emerge. One of the students I'm working with right now, he's a senior. He got into his dream school. He's so happy. He's got an ED to Carnegie Mellon. I actually met him as his older sister's younger brother. He was an adorable, pudgy little 8th grader, and now he's a student with a vision and a dream, and he's ready to rock. I have other students, one family that I'm working with. I have the 9th grader, the 12th grader, and the undergraduate. She's getting ready to apply to med school, so I've known her for a long time, and then other people, I get invited to their weddings, and you really do watch that transformation. People don't just grow academically, but they grow as people find their path in the world. And, as parents, I'm a parent myself to grown millennials. I'm real biased, right? I think they're wonderful, but parents have this sort of dream and vision. And if you're on the outside and you watch someone, it's such a different experience. And I'm really just honored, humbled, love my work, just helping people say, hey, did you consider? And that is what makes me different, because I have sort of this wide reach in that, having been in a university setting, I can introduce students to things that the typical guidance counselor in a high school may be unaware of. And sometimes parents are, their intentions may not be what their students' intentions are, and forget there's a lot of other choices. That's often in the arts. A lot of parents think, no, you're never going to make a living in the arts. Totally not true. And that's one of my favorite ways to say, wait a minute, how about? And then the how about becomes amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you're kind of taking away from the norm of what we kind of expect from our students or our children at those ages to pursue this, do this, and have that vision that's sometimes not theirs. And it seems like you're kind of breaking down that norm and allowing that space to be created by the student with your guidance in that way. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I tell people when I meet them up front, it's a student-focused, student-centered practice. Everybody else is here to support them. My role, I'm an educator. That's what you're tapping into. What you asked me a few minutes ago, what makes me different from competitors? There are many people in this field. They say about a third of all high school families hire someone. And why I'm different, I'm not someone that was driving a soccer mom van and one day started tutoring and then said, aha, I can help people. I've done this. I am an educator. I've spent my life as an educator. And secondary to that is I run this business. And so when I meet families, I am really here to say, tap into that. I can help you with time management. I can help you with learning. And I can really say, look, your kid really likes this. We know they're going to be a wonderful student overall, but what can we do to get you to the path where you're not just getting into college, but you're successful? And success means different things to many families, but it starts, I think you have to accept the fact everyone's going to go to high school and then everyone's going to go to college if that's their intention. Not everyone's going to Harvard or WashU or UC Boulder or Cornell, but everyone lands where they need to land. How I can help is helping people realize there are a lot of options. don't box yourself in. I meet families who show up at the first appointment and they've got, they're sporting the hoodie with the name, right? And like, where's that from? Oh, I visited campus and I fell in love. And I said, okay, you can't fall in love with something at 14 and box yourself in. You got to have a lot of options. And I always push the idea of options, options, options. So there's no disappointments. It's very important not to set expectations too high or too low. Have goals and realize you can get to your goals in a lot of different ways. That's what I do well. And what I love doing is saying, did you think about? And you'd be amazed how many people never even thought of a liberal arts education. They don't even know what they are. I'll name schools, Williams, Colby, Middlebury, and they go, what's that? I go, well, it's as competitive as going to Harvard or Stanford. There's two or three lists, and you have to think much more broadly, and that's really pretty neat.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about, as you're talking about this, my own experience of walking into the office with the hoodie of CU Boulder on, and going and visiting and falling in love, and then going to another school. I went to DU in the long run, but going to CU and being like, I love this place because it's great, and then I realized I wouldn't get anything done, literally.
Oh, that's interesting.
In regards of like, well, there's big classes. You don't know your professors. I went to DU. I met a professor. I got engaged in the community right away, and it was just a lot better of an experience. But this idea of like, even being boxed in some regards, like by my parents, to be like, oh, we went to a big state school. Like, you should check that out. And, kind of getting all these types of different influences from people, not really recognizing kind of like what I needed and wanted. And I think that's where you step in. And what you've said already is provided an opportunity for students and working with them to really find their niche and go to a place that they really care for and enjoy, rather than just where they're kind of,
That's a great word. You said niche, and I've been writing about that. I have one student who always teases me about that. He says, you always use the word niche. And I go, well, niche is actually really important. When you look at college apps, and then when you look internally at yourself and what drives you and makes you happy, there's so many essays. Cornell has one that just says, what's your thing, right? Your thing. Well, the reason people want to know about your thing, take a step back for a minute. Everyone is going to go to college. And that fit, in my mind, sort of centers around three spaces. One, we want to put you in the best place for you for your perceived academic interests at the time. Again, at 14 or 17, the reality that you honestly know what you're going to study is this small. A quarter of all students, in my experience as a university professor, they change majors. That's okay. You have sort of clumps. Maybe you're a STEM person or a business person, humanities, but you don't have to find your major. So we try to figure out, okay, what's that best space academically? But two other pieces of that puzzle are sort of the social side and the financial side. Parents care about the financial side. We'll talk about that in a minute. So socially, I tell people, you're going to be amazed when how different you're going to be in 2 or 3 years into college. And to parents, I say that first winter break, when they come home, you're not going to recognize your son or daughter. They're going to grow up. Mm-hmm. But I tell kids, you got to find your home, right? It's like when you go into the dressing room as a female and you're looking for that perfect dress, you try on 30 and one feels perfect, or you're a guy, or a woman, you're looking for that perfect pair of running shoes, you'll try on 15 and one just feels right. College is like that. That fit, it's going to feel right when you get there. It's going to be the tribe, the zone, the size, the weather. Sometimes it's just the political vibe or not. It's all of that. And that is really important because one of the mistakes a lot of families come to me, they'll come prepared with a list of 20 schools and they're every Ivy in the world and a couple. And I go, but they're all such different schools. No, they're not. They're at the top of the list. I go, no, you're missing a point. They're all wonderful academically, but they all don't fit your son or daughter socially, because they still have to grow emotionally and find a space where they're going to fit in. And everyone, just the difference between Yale or Brown or Cornell or UC Boulder or Arizona, vast. So I really ask people to take inventory and stock. And that's, I have a pulse point on different students and what they might want. And then that third point is sort of the finances. So come back to, you said, your father said, go to a large state school, and college is expensive. It's like no doubt about it. And we can talk a whole nother time about how to afford college, what that means financially. But the least expensive thing to do, of course, is to go to your state's flagship, pay state tuition. But that isn't always the best place socially or academically. And so then you have to say, well, financially, what can a college advisor help you with? A lot, because there's sort of a continuum of schools from the highly selective to less and less selective. And at some point on that continuum, your student looks phenomenal to a particular admissions office, sir. And in other schools, you are one of a huge pack of successful, amazing people. So I tell people it's like party favors. You know, we've all gone to a wedding where people arrive, and if you're really close to the bride and groom, you get this huge box of really wonderful goodies. And if you're just like one of the peripheral guests, you get a stinking little candle, and it says, you know, Joe and Mary's wedding, January 15th, 2020, right? So it's like that with colleges too. If they really want you, your bag of party favors is huge. And if not, you know, you just get that package that's tied to your income. So I tell people, if you think outside the box, it's often less pricey to go to some very interesting campuses, both national universities, small liberal arts campuses that are looking to diversify, meaning students in other majors they hadn't thought about, students further away from the location. So you may not get into your state's flagship school, but another state school is or needs people from your state or your window. So a lot of things to think about, and you don't know what you don't know until you sit down. And 3,900 colleges, you know, I'll take some heat for saying I think only 350 of them are really solid places to go. And of that 350, that's a lot of students and a lot of spaces and a lot of majors and selectivity ranges. So sitting down early, that comes back to, okay, why do you need a college advisor? If you wait until your senior year, you may not have discovered your thing, right? Back to that thing idea. And then, you know, you're plowing into the stressful situation of scrambling on essays and money. And if you smooth through that process as early as 9th, 10th grade, yeah, everyone's going to take the same classes in high school, but your electives can differ, your volunteer experiences, your clubs. You don't have to just join clubs at school. I tell people, get engaged, get out there. You know, if you really love writing, write for all kinds of literary magazines, blogs. You play an instrument, you really like it, go play your instrument in the lobby of a hotel. They'd love to have you. And you just get out there. And when you get out there, you start to breathe and take some risks. You get messy, you get your hands dirty, and then ultimately you discover who you are. I think everything's about discovery. We're always discovering, whether we're 15 or 35 or 55. That's part of the, you know, the beauty and joy of life. Everyone makes mistakes. So what? You know, they're like, you watch The Lion King? Everybody out there has seen The Lion King. Right? And Rafiki hits him in the head with a stick. My students hate when I use this example. And he goes, what was that? And he goes, it's in the past, right? Nothing you can do is that damaging. But I realize that not everybody leads a rosy life, right? Some kids make terrible mistakes that they couldn't have avoided, or dig themselves in a hole because of all kinds of issues that happen emotionally. And people do struggle. None of those mistakes are so terrible that they're going to alter your life path for the next 90 years. And I do meet non-traditional students, you know, who come to me in their 20s, worked a couple of years. I met someone like this last week. They're going back to school. Colleges love that as well. So, you know, you don't have to follow the straight path. And once you wrap around your head that, yeah, maybe I'll apply to Harvard, I'll get in. It's like Charlie with the golden ticket, but maybe I won't. And I'm going to be absolutely fine. A very small number of college students are not absolutely thrilled to jump into their adventure where they are. I don't see that many transfers. I didn't as a university professor advising. And even now, you know, I get a dozen kids a year who come knocking on my door saying they want to transfer. In general, people really end up where they need to end up.
Yeah, so, definitely. I think there's a couple things that you just said that I really connect with. I think one is again, seeing students for just who they are and what they do rather than just like a number or like how they perform. And I think the one thing that really hit home is this idea of like creative expression, you know, in regards to pursuing something that's their thing while they're going through this process. Because I think if you go to school, you know, me personally, I went to school and I don't know what the hell I wanted to do. You know, I had an idea, but I didn't really know like what my thing was. So in regards, I wish at some point like I had that kind of kick in the butt to say like, well, you should not just focus on academics. You should really pursue these other things in your life that make you happy while you're going through this process, because I think long term it's a lot more tangible to develop those things than just go to college and do academic things. Because I always joke and I say college was the best vacation I ever had. You know, I didn't really learn a lot personally, but I learned a lot about myself in regards of what that was. And I think one thing that DU allowed me to do was travel, and that's really what got me kind of into that space of recognizing what I can do, who I am, and what I want to do long term. I don't think if I would have had that, I would have been able to be where I am now. So
yeah, when you meet parents, they'll say, "What do you want for your kid?" And they go, "I want my kid to be happy." Yeah, everyone wants their kid to be happy, but we all, kids. But then they're honestly, I want my kid to have a job when they get out, and everyone's going to work. Even a sociology major does get a job. Yes, there are more lucrative jobs, but ultimately, we know how many people are in high-paying jobs that aren't content. So having people really think about where they can find and leverage their interest is very important. I met a new student yesterday. She's a really interesting person, and she has this passion for language in particular. And she also is interested in people and cultures. And she thought she might be a Spanish major. And the more I talked to her, I thought it'd be really interesting to sort of consider cultural anthropology and language and bring those two together. And then, as our initial session went on, I heard how much she was really interested in horses. And I go, have you ever thought about a career with horses? Well, what would I do? And that's the point, that high school guidance counselors don't have an hour to give you. They have 5 minutes to help you pick next year's courses. They're not going to sit and shoot the breeze. They're on staff to accomplish other goals, to deal with students who are struggling, and they can't provide that counseling that you need. And even undergraduate, if you're really lucky and you're sitting in a small liberal arts college, your guidance counselor, your professor, they'll talk to you for a half hour in office hours, and they'll get to know you and think about different majors. But for the most part, if you arrive on campus and hadn't thought a lot of this out and you're thrown into a large public institution, you can fall through the cracks and miss a lot of great spaces, not just with your courses, but the books you could read, the things you can do. I read it, keep telling students, do what you want. And another kid, he said, I met him in 9th grade. I know I keep talking about all these kids, but I love all these kids. They're amazing. They come in with these blank pages, and I go, how about that? He loved acting, right? He's a great student overall on the academic side, and he loves acting. And he said, I'm not going to stick with it. I'm not sure if I like the peer group. But you love to act, right? And so now he's coming up on the end of 10th grade. He thanks me every time he sees me that he's stuck with his acting, right? Because it fulfills him. And if he don't, that fulfills you. I'm not going to paint the picture that every one of the kids in my practice is absolutely thrilled. I meet kids that are struggling, right, to find what they want to do, or don't yet have the confidence to say, I can find things to do that aren't what my friends do. I always remind students, and it takes a lot of maturity to recognize that your friends see the world through the same lens, they support you, but they're not necessarily going to have the same exact interest. You love hanging and chilling, but you all don't go biking or rock climbing, right? I don't think any of my friends rock climb with me ever. But they're my friends, right? So I don't have to share interests with them. And I remind teens, if there's something you want to do, your friends are going to support you, encourage you to do that, but find that thing. And remind parents that it's really important for self-confidence that students do find that thing. So how, bring it back to college admissions. Yes, at the end of the senior year, you want to on May 1st make a deposit. And how do you get to that space? Back up to how do we get there? We have to choose a lot of different courses throughout high school. Some are given to us. There's just nothing you can do about them. They're high school graduation requirements. They're standard throughout the entire United States. But those electives are things that you should talk very closely to your guidance counselor. You don't have to take electives because your friends take them. Certainly shouldn't be taking 6 AP classes in your junior year. No one should go to sleep at 2 in the morning and wake up at 5:15, right? But what else to do with your time? Your extracurriculars are really important. And then over time, a good college counselor, whether it's at your high school or privately, should be nurturing and throwing ideas at you. Let's read about this. Let's look at this major, and then come back to what's your thing. If you say to me, I'm going to be an engineer, I want to know what problem you really want to solve, not just I like to build with Legos. That's not a useful thing to tell a college counselor. I built Legos when I was 5. Not relevant. I'm 15. What problem do I want to solve? Do you want to be the guy that makes next year's new Roomba model, or do you want to be the guy that makes the rocket that lands on an asteroid? Do you want to make the limb that's going to go into a human body? Those are different questions. I love to write. Okay, so what do you want to write about? Do you want to write press releases for our president? Do you want to write press releases for Planned Parenthood? Do you want to write the next novel that 200 years from now your grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren go, that was my grandmother, she wrote that novel? You don't have to know any of that at this age, but you should not be afraid to jump in. And that's exactly what a college admissions officer wants to know. They totally want to know, who are you? How do you live your life? Why do you interesting? Because at the end of the day, if I'm a college admissions officer from January 1 to March 1, I'm going to read thousands, tens of thousands of files in some cases. And there'll be many qualified people, but I have to assemble the class of 2024. I need a few people from every zip code and every gender and every major. It's still a roll of the dice. So you might as well at least just assume I'm going to be the best person I can. And whatever, some dice rolls are going to be good, some are not. And that's why you have a balanced list. Never apply anywhere you wouldn't go, and think it all through, but don't be afraid to take risk and explore. I totally push people all the time. And I use the word push in a gentle way. Take chance, always take a chance, and encourage and support. If you get a B, got to let it go. If you get a B because you didn't like the teacher, terrible excuse. We can, spend another hour on that one too.
Right. Yeah. No, I think one thing that I think a lot of the people out there can really connect to is this idea of peeling back these layers of the onion and really figuring out like what and how this person can find that niche to really go to the place that makes them happiest. I mean, I think more so than any college counselor that I've ever met or talked to, it seems like you really you're in it to win it, and you're in it to really get to know these people and really provide this experience that seems smooth, comfortable, and easy just to really get in there and find out who they are, and then just view them as a person and not just a number in the sense of this whole admissions process. So really,
absolutely.
It's amazing. Yeah. I appreciate that about you in the sense of what that looks like, because it's incredible.
I love meeting all my families and kids, and I kind of eventually, I know what people, one of my favorite kids, we love to go for chocolate gelato. We have our place, right? We forget the office. We're meeting at the chocolate gelato place because it's just our thing. And another person, a couple people really like this tea shop. No, you just, you know people, but like my dad, I'm really blessed. He's still alive. He's in his 80s. And I do call him for advice. I don't always agree, but I want to hear it because he has life experience that I don't have. But when I talk to different people, I know everything about them. And so we all now have social media, and, you're flipping and you see some interesting article. And the other day I saw something about some musical piece in neuroscience, and I have someone who just wants to do that. So I fire it off by text. And someone else, I saw something on some turtle launch in there, marine biology. Mm-hmm. My dad used to cut out little magazine ads before the internet and send them to me in the envelope. So all the kids in my practice, I just kind of know every one of them as people. And when something interesting hits my newsfeed that I know they're going to like, I'm going to fire it off. And that's the whole, that's the difference between a good college counselor and someone who's just obsessed with editing essays. Good college counselor. I tell every student I meet first day, I hope you're with me for 15 years. I want to still be talking to you when you're launching and hearing about you and be your mentor. It's really a mentoring relationship and leveraging my skills as an educator, which is it's a great job to have. I hope I'll never get bored of it because I may never retire.
I hear you. As a therapist, I don't ever want to retire either. I think I enjoy the work too much. It's rejuvenating for sure. It can be hard, of course, but yeah, it's absolutely exciting. Yeah. No matter what for me.
Yeah, there's sad stories too. Kids cry. Yeah. This is Georgia Tech this weekend. Kids crying on the other end, and I say, you can't cry about something like this. You know how many more job interviews you're going to be rejected from? It's just the start of a life rejection. Let it go. It's not personal.
Right. Yes, absolutely. So I want to know what it's like navigating parents' expectations in this field versus kind of where the kids are at in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I like to spend a lot of time reminding parents not to use the "we're taking our SAT" phrase. It's one of my favorite ones. I say that gently. We are not applying to college. We are not taking our SAT. So parents, I like to suggest that the most important thing they do is remind students of family values, remind students of what they're doing well, set boundaries for kids to be successful, right? It's not acceptable to bring home report cards full of C's and D's unless there's some underlying issues that need to receive attention, to be aware of what's going on. So the parent's role is to remind students of the objective, to allow students to know how much is available financially, to set clear expectations, but to remember that we are trying to launch independent, confident motivated adults. You're not your students' motivation. You can't be. It's just part of the natural. I'm not a trained psychologist, but we know that there's a great book, Letting Go. It is letting go. You have to let students take risks, get messy, like Miss Frizzle used to say. If anyone's out there, I just myself. You know who Miss Frizzle is?
Of course, Magic School Bus.
Yes. Okay. Well, I don't think that's even on anymore. But you have to let your kid make a mistake, and you got to let your kid fight your battles. You can't be the parent that always runs in and screams at the administration at the school. And what's interesting, the schools, I find, don't often practice what they preach, right? They want students to navigate. They don't want parents, but they will push students away when they want something. And sometimes it's not until the parents come banging on the door. What do I want students to do? I want students to be accountable. When you partner with me and you agree to do something, you got to get your task done. I'm here to support you. If you're going to fall behind, I want you to, be mature and call me and go, I can't meet that deadline, but I'm going to set deadlines with students. I'm going to give tasks because my goal is to get you where you want to be. I'm just like a trainer. The trainer yells at you to do your work. I'm not yelling, but I'm going to say, hey, we're exploring these 3 colleges. When do you think you can have this task done by? Yes, I can have it done in a month. Fine, we'll schedule for 5 weeks because I know you won't, because the teacher's going to throw an exam on you. But ultimately, I want you to be honest. Honesty is so important. If you're a parent and you know up front that there's no way I'm letting my kid go to that school, or there's no way I'm going to put this money out there, it's really important to know that up front. Nothing more disappointing than spending hours and hours and setting anticipations. You might get into a number of wonderful schools, and at the end of the day, the parent says, you know what, public school's just as good. Take the spot's not going to cost us anything. I don't think that was fair to the student or to me to go through that. And I try every year to have that conversation about now with my juniors, right? So my seniors, 21, juniors right now, we're having all those conversations. Let's understand the money point of view. But it's really not a good idea for a parent to write a student's essay. When that happens, that is a no-brainer. Does not happen. Not on my watch. I'm sure it happens with other people. Not an acceptable thing at all. Parents got to let go. And it's really hard for parents when it's your first kid. That's really
Absolutely.
Tough. A lot of excitement. I know how excited I was for my daughter. And I remember when she had her acceptances and she kept looking at us, how do I decide? She kept eliminating, she kept narrowing, and it was maybe April 30th with the deposit due the next day, and she's still down to 3. And we're not telling you, we're not taking that blame. You're gonna own your decision, and you're gonna live with it, and you can always transfer if it doesn't work. I don't know if I answered that question or not.
No, you did. It was great. I mean, it's what you really hit on is that in our culture, in some ways, it seems like parents are kind of being that lawnmower kind of parent that just wants to do everything and anything for their kid. And that's in our field, in the mental health world, cause a lot of anxiety and depression and all these types of other things that kind of come through that. But what you're saying is like separate that, really allow the student to continue to be themselves, again, find their niche and really flourish in what they can do. So I appreciate that.
I don't think a student, students might think, oh, I'm going to disappoint my parents. No parent could possibly ever, it's sort of this unqualified love, ever be disappointed by any outcome a student is going to bring to the table. When students realize you don't have to please your parent, you're accountable to yourself. Set your intentions. Parents are proud of you no matter what you do. I mean, to some exceptions, obviously, you're not going to go out and hijack a car. You're not going to commit a crime. Right? We're talking about the range of things. Whatever you embrace, if you do it well, parents are just so, listen in on your parents when they're not thinking you're there. Parents are always bragging about their kids. That's what they do, right? Because we're natural extensions of yourself.
Awesome. I love it. Before we wrap up today, Bonnie, if you could, I know you're moving to Colorado, which is super exciting.
Yeah, I am very excited about that.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah.
How we can contact you, where your offices are going to be, all those things.
Thank you. So if you want to find my Denver and Boulder pages, they're already online. You could Google and find me. I do serve kids all over the country right now, but one of the places I want to live full-time is Denver, Boulder. Love the West. I love to hike, so I am going to be full-time probably by March, April. Right now I'm in a couple of weeks a month. A lot of my practice is centered in Florida, which it still will be centered in. Got feet in both places as home, and I serve people anywhere. But I'm an outdoorsy kind of person. I love to hike. I love to bike. Being outside is everything, and I like four seasons. So my soul says I will be nurtured and be a better person if I am where there's snow more often than when there's sand. So hoping to be grounded. Don't know where the office will be yet physically, but you can start with me virtually right now and touch base with me while I'm in town. And I am in town this week, so that's great.
Yeah, and right down in the description there in the title, people, you got her Bonnie's website, phone number. She blogs a lot too, so keep that in mind. People definitely should check that out. I read through some of her blogs before we got started, and super impressed by what you have to offer. Super stoked on that. Yeah. So
I do write them myself. I don't hire anybody to write them. They're my blogs. Write them every 2 to 3 days. I'd probably write every day, but I have students to talk to, so I can't write all the time.
Well, yeah, we appreciate that. We appreciate that kind of free knowledge out there that you can provide on that blog and give that to those people out there who need that. So, again, everybody, welcome Bonnie to Colorado when she's here. Really appreciate this conversation today. Head Therapist is out. Catch you later. Peace, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.